Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Peter Salerno, and thank you so much for checking this video out. When mental health professionals talk about narcissism, they often use the term false self. This does present a problem because in psychoanalysis, the false self isn't the same thing as the fake self that narcissists present. These two ideas often get blended together, but they are fundamentally different. And understanding that difference changes how we see narcissism entirely. I want to be clear that this video is not in any way meant to disparage or discredit the value of classical theory. What it's doing is expanding upon what we have known and bridging the gap so that we have a more comprehensive understanding of narcissism. In classical psychoanalytic theory, the false self develops early in childhood as a defense. A child's natural emotional expressions might be rejected, punished, or ignored. To survive emotionally, the child adapts by hiding their authentic needs, their authentic feelings, and their authentic thoughts. They present as a compliant, socially acceptable version of themselves, the false self, to avoid conflict or abandonment. Importantly, the false self is not inherently pathological. Many people discover later in life that they have been living from the perspective of a false self, shaped by adversity. Recognizing and working through this pattern can be deeply healing. Therapists help these individuals reclaim their authentic voice and their authentic needs. But having a false self does not make somebody a narcissist. Most people who develop a false self still maintain empathy, reciprocity, and a genuine concern for others. In the traditional view, narcissism is conceptualized as an environmentally determined developmental process. The idea is that children are passive recipients of bad parenting or adversity without their own unique predispositions or intrinsic differences. All children react to adverse conditions with shame, self-loathing, low self-esteem, anxiety, inner turmoil, or even suicidal thoughts. And then over time, these defenses become personality structure. Biological factors or genetic susceptibilities are downplayed, or inherent traits are considered non-core to personality disorders. So again, this is a wonderfully helpful theory when it comes to adversity. However, making the claim that adversity in and of itself can predict a particular outcome in all children is simply mistaken. It's incorrect. From a more contemporary, research-based perspective, the fake self of a narcissist is not a mask for hidden shame and fragility because their personality traits are largely temperament-based and heritable. Narcissism is about excessive investment in one's image at the expense of an authentic self. But here's the key difference. The image a narcissist projects is one they create, they determine, and they value. It is not an imposed identity they were forced to adopt due to early adversity. This is fundamentally different from a false self of a person shaped by hardship. Many neurotic individuals, those who experience discomfort and internal conflict, may present themselves in ways that are designed to gain acceptance. They often have a conscience, higher agreeableness, and a strong desire to please, accommodate, and earn validation. Their false self comes from a yearning for authenticity and a collaborative spirit in relationships. Wouldn't that actually be pretty great if that's what we were dealing with in a narcissist? A narcissist's fake self works differently. It's a persona they want, one that helps them control how others perceive them and ensures the impression they leave aligns with their self-importance. They don't want to give it up because it works for them. While there can be overlap between false and fake selves, the false self seeks genuine connection. The fake self seeks to maintain dominance and admiration. The false self theory treats narcissism as an injury, something that could, in theory, be healed by uncovering the hidden true self. The fake self view sees narcissism as an expression of personality structure, deeply ingrained traits, shaped by genetics, and certainly influenced by the environment, but not caused by adversity alone. Research tells us no specific parenting style predicts NPD. Heritability estimates for narcissistic personality disorder range from about 40% to as high as 79%, depending on study design. At the higher end, twin studies of clinically diagnosed NPD report genetic influence between 71% and 79%, making it one of the most strongly heritable personality disorders. Even the lower estimates, often based on broader narcissistic traits in the general population, are in the 40% to 60% range, comparable to or exceeding heritability estimates for many medical conditions considered highly genetic, such as type 1 diabetes. One argument is that inheriting traits like boldness, disagreeableness, and antagonism is not the same as developing a complex disorder. However, when these traits cluster and persist over time, they do form the rigid maladaptive patterns that are seen in NPD. We are talking about inherent traits that are stable and persistent across the lifespan. So here's the bottom line. The false self in psychoanalytic theory is a defensive mask covering vulnerability, formed through early adversity. It's important for personal insight and growth, but it's not synonymous with what we know narcissism to be, although many psychoanalysts will still use that to explain what pathological narcissism is. Then we have the fake self of the narcissist, a self-created, valued persona used to control perception and secure admiration, with no interest in surrendering it for authenticity. Confusing these two leads to misunderstandings and often misplaced sympathy for narcissistic behavior. Recognizing this difference helps us avoid outdated, untestable theories so we can focus on the actual, measurable traits that define narcissistic personalities. I hope you found this breakdown helpful. I would love to continue the discussion in the comments section. Please be respectful in the comments. There are ways to disagree with everything I've said while still being collaborative and respectful. I would also encourage you, for further reading, to check out my book, The Nature and Nurture of Narcissism, if you are interested in this topic, and please consider watching other videos on this channel. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Peter Salerno, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.